Football fans, brace yourself. There is a midfield sensation in Europe right now who is easily wanted by every top club out there. And, astonishingly, not enough people are talking about him. His name, Vitor Machado Ferreira, or just Vitinha. His story is so sensational that first he was called a serial flop in the Premier League, then had a beef with Lionel Messi, and less than 3 years later made it all the way to lifting the Champions League trophy, and even being compared to none other than Luka Modrić. But here's the scariest thing of all. While the footballing world watches in awe, many still underestimate his potential. I mean, he's been as good as you see him right now for 2 seasons now. But the fact that he plays in the French league has deprived him of entering the spotlight. You know the agenda. If you play in the Premier League, or for Barcelona or Real Madrid, you win the Attention Today lottery. Declan Rice, Rodri, Pedri and Bellingham are widely regarded as the best midfielders in the world. But Vitinha has worked his way up through the ranks and could easily be named in the top 3, if not the best midfielder right now.
But this guy, I'm sorry, Vitinha, plays a different sport. It's not the same football you know when you control the tempo and the rhythm of the game? That has to count for something.
So yes, his potential is terrifying, and I'm sure only a few of you know his incredible story. Before we reveal the spotlight behind his potential, however, let's rewind the tape and go back to where it all began. Before the Paris Saint-Germain spotlight, the Champions League headlines, and the Luka Modrić comparisons, Vitinha was just another talented kid from Santo Tirso in Portugal, the kind of player that scouts liked but didn't rave about. He progressed through Porto's youth system, developed a reputation for his slick ball control and passing range, but when Wolves came knocking in 2020, it felt like his big break, a loan to the Premier League, the dream move, right? I'm sure that at the time, Vitinha dreamt of succeeding in the Premier League, but from a current perspective, you can be sure that he's glad he failed there, given what happened subsequently. At the Molineux Stadium, Vitinha barely played. He wasn't considered capable of handling the high level of physicality of English football. According to others, he was just not intense enough. The experiment failed, to say the least, but that's the part people miss. That year shaped him. Instead of breaking down, Vitinha adapted. He returned to Porto with a desire for revenge and something to prove. In the 2021-22 season, he didn't just improve, he exploded onto the scene. He was the driving force behind Porto's midfield, helping the team to win the Portuguese league and cup double. In fact, his influence was so significant that even now, years after his departure at the end of that season, Porto are still unable to win the title. Just imagine. Playing between the number 6 and number 8 positions, he became the driving force behind the entire system. He escaped pressure, initiated attacks, and tackled opponents. His dribbling, in particular, caught the attention of the whole of Europe, something that is evident to more or less the whole world already after his extraordinary season with PSG, is that he is extremely press-resistant. In fact, I can't remember him ever losing the ball in dangerous areas throughout the 2024-25 season. The ball seems glued to his feet. Often, it feels like he's dancing with the ball rather than dribbling with it. If you recall, the best dribbling sequence in the final against Inter came when Vitinha had the ball at his feet in progress for the 3rd goal. The Portuguese maestro took the ball and ran 30 to 40 meters through the middle of Inter's defense. He then gave the ball to Dembele, sensed an empty pocket of space in the opposing half, and received a delicious backheel from Ousmane. From there on, it was easy for Vitinha. He passed to Desiree Doué, and it was 3-0 to PSG. This play by Vitinha arguably completely decided the game in PSG's favor. A monstrous performance. Now, let's get back to the story. After overcoming the nightmare of the 2020-21 season and putting in some fantastic performances the following year while playing for Porto, PSG came knocking on his door. The man responsible for his transfer was Luis Campos, PSG's current sporting director. You might not know about him, but let me put it this way. Luis Campos was in charge of the transfer policy at both Monaco and Lille when those teams won the title ahead of PSG in 2017 and 2021 respectively. After terminating his contract with Lille, he joined PSG in June 2022, finalizing his transfer at the Parc des Princes less than 3 weeks later. You already know who it was: Vitinha. Campos wanted him at all costs and convinced President Nasser Al-Khelaifi to pay his €41.5 million release clause. But let's be honest, when that signing happened in 2022, most fans thought, okay, but who is this guy, really? You can't blame them for that. Vitinha really was nobody at the time. If you only started watching Vitinha this season or during the previous campaign, you'd probably assume he's always been PSG's midfield maestro. But the truth is, year one was rough. Under Christophe Galtier, Vitinha was misused. One game he was a deep playmaker, the next he was stranded on the left wing. He was doing all the running, pressing and tackling, but he wasn't dictating play. He wasn't playing like himself. The criticism came fast. Too passive, doesn't influence the game enough. Some PSG fans even asked if he was worth the transfer fee. But here's the scary part: Vitinha wasn't broken, he just wasn't suited to the system. Then there was the time when he almost came to blows with Leo Messi in a training session. He was reportedly also the target of Neymar's outburst following the 3-1 defeat to Monaco in February, with Neymar complaining that the team had been weakened by the arrival of players such as Vitinha. Then came Luis Enrique. With him came a system that finally understood Vitinha. Vitinha must have been quite relieved, because Enrique is the kind of coach who can turn good players into great ones. Let's be honest, before his arrival, Vitinha wasn't great. He wasn't average, obviously, but nothing special. Enrique, however, gave him the space and the ball to shine. He started playing deeper, like Modrić in his early days at Real Madrid, orchestrating from the back and slicing through defenses. The highlights of his 2023-24 campaign were undoubtedly his 2 goals against Barcelona in the Champions League quarter-finals. It was perhaps around this time that the general public began to realize that this player could be something special. It seemed as if we all saw it, but not all of us truly realized it. In the next round, PSG failed to win against Borussia Dortmund's ultra-defensive low block, primarily due to a lack of fluidity in attack. Of course, at that time, nobody saw Mbappe as the problem, because, after all, he was the best in the world. Well, he could have been the best, but that doesn't always give you as much as you would have without him. But with a well-structured, organized and fluid team, led by arguably the most dynamic midfielder in the world. That's why, in his second season under Enrique, Vitinha raised the bar even higher. He wasn't just fitting into the system, he was the system. Without the spotlight on Mbappe, Vitinha quietly became the metronome of PSG. Every attacking sequence, it usually started with number 17 pulling the strings. And even though PSG had a quiet first half of the season, they completely changed things once 2025 hit. From that heroic comeback against Manchester City, which brought this PSG team together, to the Champions League final against Inter, Vitinha was pulling the strings like few others have for PSG. Realistically, once he started playing like that, fans started calling him the next Marco Verratti. But with all due respect to the Italian maestro, I'd say that right now, Vitinha is probably even bigger for PSG than Verratti. And the sweetest part? Statistically, this season is worse for Vitinha compared to his last. In 2023-24, the Portuguese player scored 9 goals and provided 5 assists. This season, he's only scored 7 and assisted 3 goals. Nevertheless, 2024-25 is undoubtedly his best season as a professional. Now, let's address the comparison that sounds crazy. Unless you watch him play, Vitinha isn't trying to be Luka Modrić. He just happens to move like him. He plays like him, and he thinks like him. Small frame, silky touch, low center of gravity? Check. Resistant to pressure? Check. Can dribble past opponents and still find the killer pass? Big check. 172 centimeters tall? Yes, even their height is absolutely the same. But it's not just the eye test. Vitinha's numbers this season are comparable to Modric's at the peak of his career at Real Madrid. High pass accuracy, elite progressive carries, and the ability to control the tempo of high-pressure games. But the scariest part, Modrić didn't reach this level until he was 30, 31. According to the majority, Modric's prime hit in 2018, when he won the Ballon d'Or. Well, he was 33 back then. Vitinha's achieving all of this, or almost all of this, at 25, and he's already gone toe-to-toe with the biggest teams in Europe. Luis Enrique has called him the brain of PSG's midfield. Some PSG insiders have quietly started calling him our Modrić. It's not marketing fluff, it's not a hot take, it's just facts, and it's happening right under everyone's nose. So, what's your take, guys? Does Vitinha actually deserve his praises and comparisons with the one and only Luka Modrić? Or is he kind of overrated? Drop your thoughts below. Also, if you enjoyed that one, please consider subscribing to the channel, or check out our latest upload in which we talked about why Carlo Ancelotti is perfect for the Brazilian national team, days before his debut for the team. See you there.